A new shepherd. The world watched closely. Inside the sacred walls of the Vatican, something historic was happening. The Catholic Church, guiding billions of people in faith, was choosing its new leader. As cardinals from all over the world gathered, rumors and hopes filled the air. It was a decision that would shape the future. Then, on April 30th, 2025, silence fell over St. Peter's Square. Thousands waited, eyes on the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. Suddenly, white smoke appeared, an age-old sign. Habemus Papam, we have a pope. The new leader? Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, the humble and deeply spiritual Archbishop of Manila. His name surprised many, but his reputation for kindness and strong faith made hearts swell with hope. He became Pope Louis I. This moment felt special. A new leader, a new chapter, and as the world watched, it became clear something meaningful was beginning. Within sacred walls, the Sistine Chapel, famous for its breathtaking art and deep spiritual meaning, was quiet and still. Inside, something powerful was happening. The secretive process to choose a new pope had begun. Behind closed doors, 135 cardinals, leaders of the Catholic Church, were gathered. Cut off from the outside world, they had one serious mission: to choose the next pope, the successor to St. Peter. As hours turned into days, the pressure showed on their faces. Every vote they cast was more than just a decision. It was a prayer, a moment of reflection. Tension filled the room. Opinions shifted. Hopes rose and fell. Many believed the Holy Spirit was at work, gently guiding their choices. Some cardinals were already seen as likely candidates, so-called papabili. Among them was Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, the warm and humble Archbishop of Manila. His kindness and deep faith had touched people around the world. Outside, the world waited anxiously for one clear sign: white smoke rising into the sky. A white smoke rises. A wave of excitement swept through the crowd in St. Peter's Square. All eyes turned upward as a white plume of smoke drifted into the blue Roman sky. It was the sign everyone had been waiting for. The cardinals had made their choice. The bells of St. Peter's Basilica rang out loudly and joyfully, echoing the emotions of the thousands gathered below. Habemus Papam, we have a pope. But the name that followed surprised many. Luis wasn't a name from recent history. It felt fresh, unexpected, like the start of something new. People leaned in, curious and hopeful. Who was this man chosen to guide the church? Cardinal Jean-Louis Touran stepped onto the grand balcony. The square fell silent. The world seemed to pause. I bring you joyful news. We have a pope, Franciscum Luis. A name that reflected humility, a choice that hinted at change. Then came a roar of applause and cheers, filling the square and spreading across the world. Luis Antonio Tagle had become Pope Louis I. Pope Louis I was no ordinary figure. He didn't fit the typical image people might have of a pope. Born and raised in the Philippines, he brought with him the warmth, humility, and deep faith of his homeland. He was someone who truly connected with people, a pastor who walked beside his community, who listened, cared, and understood the everyday struggles and hopes of ordinary lives. Though highly educated, with doctorates in theology and canon law from Rome, it was his heart that stood out most. As Archbishop of Manila, he was known for his compassion, especially for the poor and the forgotten. He spoke boldly against injustice, poverty, and corruption. His voice became a lifeline for those who had none. A global embrace. The news of his election spread like wildfire across the world, sparking joy from Manila to to Mexico City, Nairobi to New York. But the celebration was especially powerful in the global South, regions where Catholic communities are growing fast and strong. For the first time in centuries, the new pope came from Asia, a moment of pride for millions. In the Philippines, people danced in the streets. Fireworks lit the sky. Families gathered in prayer and celebration. Their beloved Chaito, as he was affectionately called, had become pope. He was not just their religious leader, he was one of their own. In Latin America, where Catholic roots run deep, his election brought hope and excitement. Across Africa, joy overflowed. His rise to the papacy was more than symbolic. It was a sign that the Church truly belonged to the whole world. The weight of legacy, Pope Francis had left behind big shoes to fill. He was a powerful and beloved leader who reshaped what it meant to be pope in the modern world. Known as the Pope of the People, he brought the Church closer to the poor, the struggling, and those on the edges of society. He led with kindness, humility, and a deep sense of joy. Francis had made the Church more open, more compassionate, and more in touch with real human struggles. He reminded people that the heart of faith was love and mercy. His legacy touched millions and set the Church on a path of renewal. Now, Pope Luis I carried that legacy. He stepped into the role with the world watching, knowing the road ahead would not be easy. His challenge was to continue the reforms started by Francis, to lead with both strength and gentleness, and to keep the Church united during times of change. It was a big responsibility, but those who knew Luis believed he was ready. With faith, courage, and a heart rooted in service, he stood prepared to guide the Church forward into a new chapter. A Church-transformed Pope Francis brought new life to the Catholic Church. His message of mercy, compassion, and understanding reached far beyond church walls, touching the hearts of people from all walks of life, Catholic or not. He urged the Church to go where people were hurting, to be like a field hospital, offering comfort, healing, and hope to the wounded and forgotten. He wanted faith to be about walking with people, not judging them. Francis also made the Church a voice in global conversations. He spoke boldly about climate change, calling on the world to care for our planet. He stood up for migrants and refugees, reminding everyone that every person deserves dignity and respect. Not everyone agreed with him. Some within the Church were uneasy about his openness. His views on issues like divorce, remarriage, and the role of women sparked debate. But even his critics recognized that Francis had changed how the world saw the Church. He made it more approachable, more human, and more involved in the challenges of today. Now, that responsibility rested on the shoulders of Pope Luis I. His task, to carry the mission forward, to continue shaping a Church that speaks to the modern world, one that faces its challenges with faith, courage, and compassion. Echoes of Hope. The election of Pope Luis I sparked a wave of hope across the Catholic world. His background, his gentle humility, and his deep care for the poor and forgotten touched the hearts of many who longed for a Church that truly lived out the message of love, compassion, and justice. Young Catholics, especially, felt a strong connection to him. He seemed to understand their dreams and concerns. His openness to dialogue, his willingness to listen, and his use of modern tools like social media to spread faith made many believe that their voices mattered, and that the Church had a future shaped by unity and understanding. At a time when the world faces big problems, climate change, rising inequality, and deep divisions, Pope Luis III and the Church had a chance to be a light in the darkness, a source of hope, and a voice for those who often go unheard. His mission was clear but challenging: to tap into the passion of the youth, to bring people of all ages together, and to lead with strength and compassion. In choosing a pope from the edges of the world, the Church had sent a powerful message. It was ready to face the future with open arms and an open heart. A new dawn, the election of Pope Louis I marked a transformative moment in the history of the Catholic Church, ushering in what could be described as a new dawn. This moment wasn't merely about the selection of a new pope. It symbolized a profound shift in direction, a renewal of hope, purpose, and spiritual leadership. The choice of Pope Louis I, a man from the Philippines, was surprising not only because of his geographical background, but also due to the values he embodied: humility, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the marginalized. His selection stood as a continuation of the path set by his predecessor, Pope Francis, whose papacy was characterized by a focus on mercy, humility, and a preferential option for the poor. Pope Francis had already laid the foundation for a church that reached out to those on the margins, those whom society often overlooks. His emphasis on compassion, social justice, and global responsibility for issues like climate change and migration challenged the Church to engage more deeply with the world's pressing problems. With Pope Louis XII stepping into the role, the question on many minds was whether he would maintain this focus and continue Pope Francis's work, especially given the growing complexities facing both the Church and the broader global community. The world was watching with a mix of excitement, curiosity, and uncertainty. What would Pope Louis I's papacy look like? Would he continue to prioritize the needs of the poor? How would he confront the Church's ongoing challenges, such as its relevance in a rapidly changing world, addressing concerns about gender and the role of women, and finding solutions to the rising disillusionment with religious institutions? People wondered if his leadership would reflect the values of his homeland, where the Christian faith is deeply rooted, and where the challenges of poverty and social inequality have shaped much of the Church's work. Only time would reveal the answers to these questions. However, one thing was certain: Pope Louis I's election wasn't just about changing leadership. It was about a divine moment, a moment of grace where the Holy Spirit was visibly at work. His election reminded the world that God's plans often unfold in mysterious and surprising ways, defying expectations and revealing new paths for the Church to follow. The election signified that God's guidance could lead to moments of hope, even in the most unexpected of choices. In this light, the election of Pope Louis I was more than just a new papacy. It represented the promise of a church that continues to evolve, to respond to the world's needs with love, and to fulfill its mission of bringing light and hope to all people.